bro, first thing are your papers. The Home Office want to know that your relationship is genuine and subsisting. But how exactly do they find that out? And what exactly does that mean? We're going to be looking at the psychology of human relationships. We're going to be looking at the kind of documents they're going to need in relation to that same psychology. And we're also going to be looking to see what happens when you don't have enough documentation or you can't prove that the relationship is genuine and subsisting. How does the Home Office react in those circumstances? Now let's get to the psychology of a human relationship, because only once we understand the psychology of human relationship can we understand exactly why the Home Office want what they want and what they want. And that will allow us to have a look at what we can't provide and substitute it with evidence of the same value. Now you only have to throw a stone towards the concept of human relationships and you hit the Sternberg principle. The Sternberg principle is effectively a triangle.
Power cable.
what is
The biggest driver of economic growth can't just be found on the stock market.
My lifetime, I will create hundreds of jobs.
design a smarter city?
Develop a cure for antibiotic resistance.
Breaking news and said the Court of Appeal that's the Bank of Ghana and restore the license of GN Bank, Pakwasi Indium, GM Bank, and almost restore our license to them. What is the backstory? And there are a lot of analysis in this video. Remember, important date to be a story. The 11th of September 2017 BBC. The Memcat was a Semusia, you must have then was a down then this year. 11th of September 2017, then this year. 16th of August 2019 BBC. So 16th of August, I did see and the 30th, 14 days, 2 weeks after says and on the on the 19th of July 2020, we be course of Brother Mahama office. So we are the 21st of May 2026. All these dates, I'll show you why it's important to this conversation. And I'm going to do the money pretty say bank later or bet down the daily cost savings alone fan and down fan at the amount and I may be clean it down at the amount in this video. It's my show. So best subscribe and most subscriber no click the notification with the video be to be network we are. You will certainly have a control free. Leave that comment in the comment section. My show. So we call Inspire FX or your bank. We are hotel, we are Montessori International School C, we are media house, health organization. If you need a website to enhance your business and also improve your connectivity with your clients, now the measures of Inspire FX. Hosting issue on solve amount, domain issue on solve any other issue. Quotation you can some amount free of charge. Goldberg Construction Todana so sin wasas and kratas number from BPI WhatsApp. Just give them what you want to get. They will do everything for you. That is the hallmark of Goldberg Construction. Yes. Now let me build the story from my country. I never acquired on the Christian channel. This you must have then down on and then see. So let me build the background for you and I'll take you through why I am important. So starting from the background, never do baby any one. Papa or that say your friend a Pakwasi Indo. Now bank be operate here. You got the 11th of September 2017. If you be minimum capital requirement, they will say is the least amount of money a business, that is a bank, must have before it is allowed to operate. It's basically minimum capital requirement. You must have that money before you can operate as a bank. Now, prior to MPP Baba historically, Ghana actually minimum capital requirements now from, for example, around 2000, there was 60 million. It's MPP Baba now 2016, about 120 million for a bank. Minimum capital requirements of 120 million. MPP Bayern, under the 11th of September 2017, the Bank of Ghana, under the signature of Governor Addison, any statement by for just 120 400 million. It's the bank to be over Ghana, the so minimum capital requirements, and I 120 million, except for 400 million. Where's my evidence? This is my exhibit number 1. For say, the Bank of Ghana announces a new minimum capital requirement as part of a holistic financial sector reform plan to further develop, strengthen, and modernize the financial sector to support the government's economic vision and transformation agenda. Now, my main escape now, I'm a paragraph or story in what was say. In line with the above and in accordance to Section 28(1) of the Bank and Specialized Deposit Taking Instruments Act 2016, that is the Act 930. The Bank of Ghana announces for the information of banks and general public that it has revised minimum paid up capital for existing bank and new entrants from 120 million to 400 million, effective Monday, September 11, 2017. Now, it's a deadline in all existing banks have to December 31, 2018 to meet the new minimum paid up capital requirement under the criteria indicated below. So the deadline for bank be another Ghana be 2017 or starting the minimum capital requirement 120 million. 11th no, now say we be 400 million. I will explain to you why this is important. Now, you free 2017, GM Bank NTVMT, some minimum capital requirements. So they were downgraded from a GM Bank to a GM Savings and Loans. Where's my evidence? I'll prove it to you. Now, you free 11 for no, and you call September 16, 2019. Now, 2019, breaking news where I was say notice of revocation of licenses of insolvent savings and loans companies and financial houses and appointment of a receiver. Ghana 16th August 2019. Letter Kakake now it is the Bank of Ghana announced and said we will keep some specific savings and loans to be financial from license or maybe to man or appoint receiver. Receiver never appear the back. Timber say, Mouse appear nipa, or no receiver. Now, institutions, institutions, normally about 23 of them. Now, option number 16, GN Savings and Loans Limited. Now, a savings and loans company. So, this further gives credence what I said. And a GN Bank, now a commercial bank. On my meeting capital, minimum capital, come here, see, on do GN Savings and Loans. And also, I brought more pretty from 2019. After you revoke license 2019, no more revoke license. So they were in trouble. That was GN Bank. Okay. Now the Bank of Ghana adduced a 27-page document. But the Bank of Ghana adduced reasons for each of the 23 agencies now withdraw my license. But because a technical field, you know, I understand some of the things. Some of my economists are explaining to you. So what did I decide to? I decided to use AI. Say reasons now the bank a GM Bank license free in some on the 16th of August 2019. AI should just give it to me in layman terms. It's document to me what 27 minute document. I have the document, they're technical. For example, let me go to the document and give you something. Already GM Bank there. Now one of the things they said, this is GM Bank, because say GM Bank was first incorporated as a bank, blah blah blah, any other. Now the reasons why they or GM Bank license no any or say the Bank of Ghana has reached the conclusion that GM Bank is currently insolvent under Section 1234 of the Bank and that is the Specialized Deposit Taking Act, you know. And yeah, the my reasons in now, so I just decided to give it to AI to break it down for me. So pardon me if you see my screen going black because of Sadina Maple project now. Or say reasons now about 11. One, or say GM Bank did not have enough money to operate. Next woman this guy. They couldn't operate. They were basically broke. You can't be insolvent or this or the man. I try to say. Again, I'm saying customers could not access their money for the GM Bank failed to maintain the required reserve money. Let's see, so much to us and go where deposits on the mom. Again, as shareholders now one face from a share bank in the bank in the in fact, we make serious allegations, which some of them were criminal. Say, GM Bank gave a huge amount of customers' money to sister companies. Say, Gold Coast Fund Manager, you right do down on side the secretary to one who can. And the surveys our companies the problems. Or the other companies, among physical company by GM again, or the other companies, no, or some could create a Ghana Growth Fund. And the depositors' money from GM was heavily used to support sister businesses. Such accusation of the Unibank, you know, again, also the sister companies could fail to pay back the money. But the companies go to go phone tier and a year and they could see. Now on the 30th, and they do so on tier that of the cocoa, no cocoa. So the case began on the 30th of August 2019, exactly 2 weeks statement in the by. Now when the case began, a court, a high court, any other. Now this is the important notification you should know. A court high court now no more challenging the revocation. And a justice Gifty Ado Eje Erule date new January 24, 2024 say the Bank of Ghana in so no chance so the GM license Lukrewo it's in and baby Kotna. They appeal. GM Bank appeal here. But before Oba appeal no and Oya appeal after. Now election so within 19th of July and then the 1st of July of a city Pamiensa Cheddar. I am conducting a and I John Dramani Mahama. Oko Joma you will see a significantly my president mama can be once a video now started trending. For you to get the context, you do not go in crew, you come or then say near time people the time no the president Mahama time on the 19th of July. Promise will make you in any.
We built a bank from the very beginning, saying that we wanted to be the people's bank, to be everywhere, to serve the ordinary Ghanaian. So from the word go, we said we're going to build at least 300 branches and serve at least 1 million customers. And that will be where any major market is in this country and provide services across. So we built not just these 300 branches. In actual fact, we built 305. And we put in the technology network so that no matter where you would be, whether it's in Wedana, Sisala, or Fusiga, or wherever, that you could access your bank account from anywhere. Or you could also decide that I'm in Avrongo. I want to go to Kumasi or to Makola to buy some supplies, but I don't want to carry cash, so I don't lose it. So you go to the branch, you tell them, here's my money, I'm going to Kumasi Edum, I'll collect my money. So they'll just go safely, pick up their money, buy their supplies and go home. So we built this network, which then became the focal point for economic development in many of the areas. Because now, if I know a specific man in Wale Wale who sold building products, before we got there, his business was small because he couldn't drive through all these bad roads to go and deliver supplies, go and collect cash. But with our system in place, anyone, whether they're in Saboba or wherever else, will go to a branch, deposit money into his account. Once he verifies it's sitting in Wale Wale, he will then send the supplies to them. And his business was thriving. Now the business has gone down. So we feel that collapsing a 300 branch financial entity is inimical to the economic interests of the country. So whether it even belongs to us or belongs to someone else, it is something that needs to be there. Secondly, since our license was revoked and we left a number of those places, nobody has gone to those locations. Nobody has decided that I'll go to, they are not here, so I'll go to Willensi. They are not here, so I'll go to wherever it is. Nobody's gone there. And so there's nothing happening in those places. We had thousands of employees. Those employees don't have jobs. And because of the banking sector problem that showed up, who is going to give a branch manager a job today? So those people are jobless. And some of them are doing some really menial jobs with the education that they have. So that didn't happen. And there's a problem there. We also built quite a sophisticated digital money system. So some may have heard about a system called Pay Global and others that we built. With your app, you can do all sorts of things. That system obviously is collapsed. Now, we consider that we built one of the first, people talk about interoperability. We did this, more than 6 years ago. And that system, it doesn't work now. It made a huge investment in that area. It is not working. So we've spent a lot of money, a lot of investment in the system that today is not doing anything for anyone. So why did this happen? It happened because quietly we had been the entity our whole group, that was funding Ghanaian contractors. There are a number of them. I know you know some of them. We put them in business. We finance their contracts. So when former President Kufuor took over, they decided, I was there, they decided that they weren't going to give advance money to contractors. That you should go and get your own money. And when your project gets to a certain phase, the professionals, technical people will go and take a look, certify the project, they pay you, then you move on to the next phase. If they don't pay you in 90 days, you get to charge interest on it. And that was the system that was put in way back in 2001 or so, because it was said that people would get advances and do all manner of things with the money and not do the work. So up until 2017, cumulatively, we had financed up to 14 billion Ghana cedis worth of contracts, cumulatively. So that's the impact that we were having on the system. Bridges, roads, school buildings, and so on and so forth. Now, in 2008, when we started asking for our money, what we said was there at that time was 1.8 billion Ghana cedis. What? 2018 was 1.8 billion Ghana cedis. And this came about because when the new administration took over in 2017, it decided to freeze all contracts and said they were going to review them and reject whichever ones that they would reject. Well, they did the review. None of our projects was rejected. As a matter of fact, they gave even more contracts to a number of the contractors that we had pre-financed. But they would pay the new contracts and leave ours. Right? We said, just give us 300 million Ghana cedis of contracts, work done and certified. And if they had done that, none of our companies would have suffered any challenges. They didn't. So Ministry of Finance said, go and get an independent person to audit these projects, which we did. When the independent person did the audit, they rather came up with an amount of 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. Right? This money is what today has come up to over 7.1 billion. Now, knowing all of this, the governor who is there sat with me and said, look, why don't you accept to be reclassified from a universal bank to a savings and loans company, knowing that for savings and loans, the minimum requirement is only 15 million. 15 million. So do that, continue with your business, and then when monies are paid, then you can come back and request to be brought back to universal banking status. I went back to the directors, said, okay, let's do this. So in January 2019, they give us a letter saying, here are 6 conditions that you must satisfy over a 6-month period. Now go and become a savings and loans company. So we went and started working. After 6 months, we prepared this report. It's a transition report for the 6-month period. We gave it to them in July. All of the requirements that they gave us had been satisfied. And we said our capital at that point is about 200 million Ghana cedis. Now remember, savings and loans, you require 15 million, right? So imagine my shock when I'm sitting in Chicago doing some work, and in August I'm told that they're taking our license. So under what pretext? Under what condition? What happened? Okay, because this report we gave to them, nobody called us to say, come and let's talk page 5, what you put there is wrong. Or page 6, there's something that we don't understand. Nothing. And I've been showing this to everybody. that we went through and did our work and said everything was okay. And indeed, the people had started coming back to us, giving us new money. The old OPEC in Washington, which is now DFC, we went there and signed an agreement for $20 million, okay, to bring in and put into the business. All of that went away because of this action.
Here's how I guarantee I get the cheapest train tickets in the UK. I was sick of paying full price at the ticket machines for my train tickets, and I actually said...
Presenting this petition to us. It's a matter that has engaged our own attention, and I have made several pronouncements about it in the past. I believe that the action of this government was a knee-jerk reaction to a situation that should have been faced with reasonableness, level head, and a calm disposition. Professor Soludo says that the ownership of capital matters, and that the ethnicity of capital is real, and that every country's financial and banking sector is part of its national security architecture. And so I do believe that indigenous participation in the financial sector is critical. In the current lopsided situation where we have a dominance of foreign banks in the financial sector is not the best that Ghana should have. And so you have a lot of empathy on this side. The issues with the financial sector began as under our watch. We knew there were liquidity issues and all that, but it needed a calm head to unravel it and deal with it. And so we went into putting in the necessary legislation, including the bill for guaranteeing deposits and so on and so forth, so that we could solidify the legislation in the financial sector and then deal with it, when we came back with a renewed mandate. It's not the first time we've done a banking sector cleanup. Under FinSap, we had struggling banks and we dealt with it, and the banks came out stronger after FinSap than before. And you remember we created a non-performing assets recovery trust that took, the toxic debt and dealt with it, recovering those debts. In this case, I have said before that banks like yours, GN Bank and UT Bank and all the other banks that were closed, were indigenous banks that were dealing mostly with small and medium enterprises. And everybody knows that in the banking sector, that is the risky end of the market. And so definitely if there's going to be problems with liquidity, it's going to come from that group. And so I believe government should have handled it differently. If we had continued in government, this would not have happened. I mean, we must look at the social impact too. Throwing out about 10,000 banking sector professionals. Some of them are bakers today, others are Uber drivers and all that. After all the training and education they got. I mean, there are best practices that anybody could look at. I remember the Bank of Scotland or something during the financial crisis was about to collapse with massive consequences for the British economy. And so what did Britain do? They took equity in the bank, liquefied the bank, and the bank, returned to profitability in a short while and took the equity back, paid off the loans. We could have handled it that way. And in any case, who says that all banks require a certain capital reserve? And that's why we are talking about a tiered banking system, because banks exist for different purposes. They have different objectives and they cater to different segments of the market. Not every bank needs to be a Class A bank with capital reserves of 400 million cedis. There are small banks like, Wells Women Banking and all those, and other banks that cater for specific segments of the market. And they don't need 400 million cedis capital because they're giving small loans like 1,000 cedis, 5,000 cedis, 2,000 cedis. They're not lending to the Unilevers of this world. And so I do think that government was hasty in what it did. if you look at the criteria that was used, I mean, it didn't fit. It was not a one size fit all. I mean, it was just like different rules for different folks. And so, yes, like you said, a lot of these banks had also financed government suppliers and contractors, and government owed them, and they owed the banks. And so even if you did an offset of what was owed, then probably the liquidity issue would have been resolved. My government says, no, our contract with those people has nothing to do with you. We are dealing with you as banks. And so it's your business to recover that money. But how would they recover that money if you don't pay the contractors to pay them? And so I do think that
It was founded as
it was hasty and it's affected indigenous capital in the financial and banking sector. And we have pledged that we'll work to restore the capital of indigenous businesses in the financial sector. And so we are advocating an independent review of the processes that went into the banking sector clean out. And where we believe these were unjustifiable, look at the restoration of the licenses of these banks. The details are being worked out by our manifesto committee. He talked about an equity fund and all that. And so those are all things that we would look at. It's a pity I can go around the country and I see those your micro little brick and tile GN banks, and they're firmly shut with padlocks. And I mean, there's no financial service to the community anymore after the closure of those little mini banks. And one would like to see them come back, because we are looking to bring as many people into the formal sector as possible, and financial services are the best way to capture, those people. And so we'll be happy to look at the petition. But like I said, I think we're speaking on the same wavelength. I know that there are some legal issues too outstanding, but it's something that we would be looking at before we come into office. And then by the grace of the votes of the Ghanaian people and by the grace of God, we do come into office, you can expect that you will all get a sympathetic hearing, in trying to unravel, what has unfortunately happened. So thanks again for presenting the petition, and I wish you well. You're not looking as bad in real life as the photographs make you look out to be. There's one where you have your hands like this, and it's like the world has come to an end. But thank you very much. Thanks for the honor.
Yes. Evidence. Now, the Court of Appeal has, by unanimous decision, restored the license of GN Bank Savings and Loans Company Limited. This was after a 3-member panel of the second highest court squashed the decision of the High Court, which upheld the revocation of the license on the ground that the decision to revoke the license was unfair and unreasonable. This is what they say. It would say in the president was for the Demeka. But today, the Bank of Ghana statement of the scene for Ghana say, I can't name the banks in the Delano. Say, the banks are Ghana binding on the for the money now from my Hindu. Now, in Ukraine, says, getting that not mean fair money for Bra. Who's a present mama reference CB? According to Bank of Ghana, then, almost say, allegation 9 Hindus are binding the cat, now buying to Yakanamana, or not to be me a solvent, F insolvency. That money was not enough for Indus Bank to achieve that solvency. So, this is the decision coming in. So it means that currently the Bank of Ghana must sit with Bank of Sindum to look at the modalities and restore the license of the GN Bank. Now I want to and I said this is the genesis and this is where we are today. Summer travel from 2019 to data when you're the license. For me, some people will be happy, some people may not be happy, but I think in the grand scheme of things, a Ghanaian bank, whatever the government must do to ensure, say, on paper back, they will conform to the standard, they will do their things properly. I think the government of Ghana and the Bank of Ghana must help them. This is the story. What is your comment? Feel free to share that comment in the comments section. We are not subscribed, but not subscribed, not to keep on notification. The video be to Abu. No, it's my make sure so much on see them. Ghana, see you. Bye bye.
Is £200 a month enough to start investing? Despite what you might have heard, you don't need thousands of pounds to start investing. With £100 or even less a month, you could start growing your money for the long term in a Moneybox Stocks and Shares ISA. And because it's in an ISA, any gains you make are tax-free. Moneybox makes it super easy to automate monthly payments as well. Remember, it's important to add money little and often, rather than waiting to have more money.
It is all my job. It is all my cleaning everything. So they have one count. The Premier League chicken is there. Obi na se mi bisa se mi so say dia we dey need you. Any ma kwa ba. Perfume no cry it in the London Abba studio. We dey jama ka dey out to be access. So we carry.
Say na ga di lo sa te ta de dem be kizama. You see. So show so he be vida ko sit adu kwa self ateta. Only so mu na dey self ateta.
Yeah, sure.
What a teta has done. For us now. And then even that so Champions League over saying Wenger. Wenger, with all the time he spent with us now. I did the was it one semi-final or two? And I did the one final.
Yeah.
Teta. In how many years? Six. Never final back. I'm a semi-final mean. In fact, it was in the quarterfinals 3 years ago. And they love him. Indeed. In the videos I was sending us all back, and me at the Castle.
Yeah.
No more two in the D to them. We have been at the time, Castle having a very squishy. It was a party at the Olympics. Even before that game now, the Jelly, we knew we were winning the league.
That's right.
And I told you.
About fire. I told you
we win the league before our last game.
Yeah, that one you rightly indicated. I know.
I'm not bomb of shares now.
Yeah.
The share bomb of team was saying. Any more records are not on 2026 will be in TV shop. And then you are really up. We share them. Don't say we're team now. And now city share. Of course, that's how we hope to be shaky. It's in the but give me a point now. The colonize I don't cry, you know, park in the show.
Yeah.
Until video never Baba or catch the guard say it's not done. It's not done. Okay, and the man you go here, and I told you, say, Premier League po, just like any league.
That's true.
Sure. It may be Brighton. Okay, Brighton when I told you like walk around there first. Brighton has told me like those couple years. Newcastle. Also maybe on the air. Only now, Pepper. Never for the fella. Only chef now. Only PSM. Still like this city, come sign you. What do you say about it? Sabu Bina, as a place in the J. Form. The 3 or money come 4. We have to make a statement. And you know, Keke. Let me say, Papa, now. Everton born near the boy. You say Everton born no city and yet easy. Now we name Jaya City and Everton really match. How much of the 5? One chance was saying, I mean, down at my body by. Then Jaya on the Musala City really match. And I guess we now but to go David Moyes, the bunny at the Tono Fari free. You real say that for the buy. And they buy for the bully team. I can't tell you. All the times we feel on us captain, which means that we leadership qualities. For a player who free team be back, near the captain Manon, leadership will be on the one a good. And I think I will be team that no one say. Yani, last year, I think 10 years. I think we just said that 10 years ago, we out just now. In 2016, we say farewell to us first. I know sure study by in some man because we felt that he was a good captain. Of course, we did FA Cups too. What's good? We did 2 FA Cups. What you say? Today, my young thing is phenomenal. 10 years on, he has won us the league. And if he's a Premier League by 92-93, he's the first coach. He's the first coach Wakuti, Obo Timbi, the Premier League. So we know the Timbi in the Premier League era. See Premier League, we now dealing with you. Ateta is the first. And the work he's done with us, and they're remarkable. He has built Arsenal, Kakra, and man, he to be qualified for Champions League. Arsenal became contenders. And when you know the name Jano Master, you guys maybe not near cry, out of Najitun. Let me ask for big pressure. And Ateta, and he'll say, Pounds of oil, mine. What do you support teenager?
Okay.
Why would you be a guy?
Okay.
Do you understand where you are?